Welcome back to Optimal Play. I am Brandon.
And I'm Kyle.
And we are here for our deep dive review of the cards in Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth. We recorded it remotely quite a while ago when COVID times were, well, they're still ongoing now, but
We're back.
Yeah, you were a few time zones away, but you're here now, so cheers.
Cheers.
And we talked for a while.
Yeah, a minute or two.
Yeah. So by the time we got around to finishing our review, I realized that it should probably be spread out into multiple videos for my own sanity and for anyone to watch it.
No.
So this is us greeting you and letting you know when you see us say that we're going to talk about all of the characters in the video, don't believe us.
We're liars.
We're liars. In this video, we're only going to talk about the basic cards, Legolas and Gimli, possibly in the reverse order.
Those three topics will be covered.
Yes,
We promise.
And then we will be back in probably about a week to continue through the box in still long videos, but a little more bites.
Yeah. Still very drawn out and talkative and long-winded, but
that's just how we operate.
yeah, well, you know, no one's perfect.
So if you enjoy this, or hell, even if you don't, subscribe to the channel. You'll see when the following videos come out over the coming weeks, and we're gonna get into the first expansion to the game also after a few videos on the basic game. So
I'm ready.
should be fun. All right, see you on the other side. There we go. That worked. That was perfect. Welcome to Optimal Play, where tonight we're doing a deep dive into the contents of Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth. My name is Brandon.
And I'm Kyle.
And hi, who are you and what have you done with Steven?
You don't want to know.
All right, well, you fit in nicely to his side of the screen, so welcome.
Yep, thank you.
If you've seen much of our Optimal Play content in the past, we have a history of looking at the Arkham Horror, the card game expansion packs as they come out, and reviewing the cards in like living card games and stuff is kind of a natural thing to do, but I've been interested in expanding that into deeper dive looks into the actual contents of board games. So like there's a lot of unboxings and reviews and things, and we're gonna maybe take a look at some products in the future as they come out, but like before we've played with them. But what I didn't see a lot of and what I would enjoy, so decided to make, is like actually taking a look at the cards, the characters, talking about what we like and don't like at that granular level. Have you played Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth before?
Yeah, once or twice.
Okay.
We're doing a campaign right now.
That's right. Actually, yeah, we've been streaming it together on twitch.tv/optimalplay. I had to take a beat there to remember my own URL. But
It's fair.
yeah, so if you don't follow us on Twitch, please do. And we stream Lord of the Rings from time to time on there. Okay, so there's a lot in the box. Some minis, some tiles. We're going to focus on the cards, and I think mostly on the characters and the, what do you call the cards that are in their deck? Are they skill cards? I
think they are skill cards.
This is the type of thing I should definitely do before I start the recording. Look that up. Let's call them skill cards.
Fine.
Yeah. We're going to take a look at the characters and their skill cards. For now, we're going to avoid anything spoilery. We won't be looking at the items. We won't be looking at the titles. So if you haven't played the campaign, we are going to, I think, kind of come at this assuming you know the basics of the game, right? Like we're not here to explain how to play.
No, we'll watch a different video for that.
Yeah, we might even recommend one. Check the show notes and see if or check the description and see if I remembered to do that. So there are 6 cards that go into everyone's deck, no matter what. Nothing they can do about it. The basic cards. You wanna be the first to read some cards?
Sure. Let me pull up some basics. All right, so basic 1. Undying Might. When you test Might, you may discard the skill to add 1 success. It has a fate icon. Basic 2 is Honed Agility, also has a fate icon. When you test Agility, you may discard this skill to add 1 success. I'm sensing a theme.
I don't know. I'm not convinced.
Unyielding Spirit also has a fate icon. When you test Spirit, you may discard the skill to add 1 success.
I've never actually noticed that they have the skill names like right in the title.
Oh yeah, I was like,
might,
the
spirit.
skill names. I'm like, well, it's laid out for me. Can't miss it too bad. All right, Ancient Wisdom, also a fate icon. When you test Wisdom, you may discard the skill to add 1 success. Clever Wit, when you test Wit, you may discard the skill to add 1 success. And a little different is Time of Need with 2 fate icons. And when you test, if you do not reveal any successes, you may discard the skill to convert all fates to successes.
Yeah, so it's kind of a nice little easing into the mechanics of the game, right? They're all just
very
cards
simple
that you can prepare now for success later. I think they're mostly bad cards. Do you like that?
They're like, oh, I drew 2 of these cards in my what's the upkeep or rally
phase, yeah.
Rally phase. And I guess I'll prepare 1 because yeah, why not?
Yeah. I think I mean, some of them are definitely better than others. Like Might, I think, since whatever stat your character attacks
Might,
with,
yeah,
yeah, for some characters it's Might, not all of them. I think that one is always pretty welcome, and then most of the other ones, like unless you use Spirit to attack, like I guess I'll put this into play and see if I ever have to take a Spirit test. Sometimes the whole game goes by and you don't have to use some of those like off your main skills.
Yeah, I mean, I think Time of Need is the most interesting and seems the best, but it's kind of not that good. Like you often don't see a skill test where there are no successes, but there are ample fate icons to convert. And
or you stare at Time of Need when you needed 2 successes to pass and you drew 1. Like this exactly doesn't help you at all.
You're like, well, I drew 3 fate icons, but I also had a success, so
yeah.
Well, I'm done.
I think I prepare Time of Need pretty often because it feels so good. It's so tempting, and when it works, it feels so good. But I actually think it's more of a trap than anything.
Yeah, I agree. No, yeah, I think it's definitely one that people will over prepare.
Yeah. But at least I at least understand well enough that it's not that good to where it's usually the first to go when I have 4 when I have 4 cards already and I'm preparing another one and have to replace one. So yeah, okay. Well,
it also depends on the composition of your deck. If you don't have a lot of successes and you filled your deck with Fate XP, then it's better. Or if you have a lot of successes prepared in your area already.
Oh, I had to think for a second on Fate XP. You mean if you've spent like most
if you've got like the level 7 versions of your class where you have a lot of Fate icons on the cards.
That's a good point. I've never considered like building my deck around Time of Need by not putting very many successes in it.
You shouldn't try it. I'm sure it's awful.
Well, it's we're only on our current campaign that we've been streaming. We're only 2 quests in. Like it's not too late for me to pivot to a Time of Need build.
I like it.
All right, then you can just carry me through the game.
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right. Well, we got those out of the way. It felt they're not that interesting, but it felt a little weird to ignore them too. Yeah. Now onto the good stuff. I'm gonna start us with Gimli. I think taking a look at Gimli himself.
Sounds good to me.
Gimli is a dwarf. He's dwarf traded. That actually occasionally matters. I don't think I'm gonna read all his stats, but importantly, he has 4 might and 4 spirit. And after he attacks, you may place 1 card from the test on top of your deck. It's recommended that he be the Guardian, which is why we'll look at the Guardian cards in a second, that he equips the Battle Axe and Ringmail, so he's kind of a fighter through and through. Have you played Gimli?
I've never played him myself, but I've played opposite him, 2-player.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's a machine, when it comes down to it. But he falters on everything that's not, fight. So if it's like a very questy, investigatey type quest, he kind of falters in those.
He does if you follow his recommended items and take that ring mail. It has the thing where you can test. So I think what ringmail does is it lets you take other tests other than except for agility as if they were might, which is like a little bit of an awkward fit for him because he also has 4 spirit, so it's no use there.
Sure.
But it like shores up his wisdom and his wit, which is cool. And then anytime you have to take an agility test for any reason, you are just screwed. You have one skill.
Oh yeah, because it gives him a -1 to agility too, right?
Yeah, it does. Like it does. It sticks him at 1 agility. Like, hey, maybe if you need a 2 to pass, you'll draw that time of need. spend 2 inspiration on it. That's about
time of need is the best card. That's all I'm hearing.
I mean, it when it works, it works. It just never works.
But yeah, I mean, his ability of, especially because he's going to be fighting, just being able to stack that like success. If you draw a success in your combat, which you likely will, you know, throw that back on top. It kind of shores up any kind of, retaliates the enemies might have. It shores up. Oh, I know that there's a test over here that just takes 1 success. You can just nail it.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to say. Is it seems like it's an offensive ability because it triggers when you attack, but it actually works. It actually ends up defensive more of the time because enemies counterattack, especially against a melee character. So usually after you attack, the very next test you do will be to nullify the damage and fear they're doing to you. Sure. So it's actually a defensive ability.
Unless you're like, axe murdering Gimli and you just take out a whole group in one swing.
yeah. If you positioned yourself where you can like attack, double attack in a turn and not take counterattacks because you just finish off the first group, then you're going to do a lot of damage.
Yes,
and it's a lot of fun.
Definitely.
And it can even, this is probably rare, but it's also possible that it like saves you from a last stand, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
If you're like in the darkness and he doesn't have a high fear capacity threshold or something, you take some fear at night. Oh wait, no, except then you would have taken a test for that fear. Yeah, maybe it's okay. No, I take it back. I can't think of an example.
It won't be a last stand.
I can't think of an example when your next test after an attack would be a last stand. So, never mind then.
Oh, whatever.
All right. Well, let me cover up my incompetence by shuffling us forward into his cards. Want to read us Gimli's? So each character has 5 cards that they always include when you play that character. Let's hear him. Give us these cards.
All right. Well, the sensitive dwarf, he has a poet's heart. Before you interact with a person token, gain 1 inspiration. It also has the ability Rest 2, which you can discard to heal.
All right.
Relentless Axe has a success on it. Tactics traded. At the start of your turn, you may discard the skill to attack and add 2 hits. Strike 2. At the start of your turn, the same card, there's 2 of those.
Yes, there are.
Kinship is an aid card that has no icons on it. Before a nearby hero tests, you may discard the skill for that hero to reveal 2 additional cards. If they are a dwarf, you may scout 1. And
worth noting, there are no other dwarves in the core set of this game.
True. That's why you have to sink more money into expansions.
yeah. Which, hey, maybe we'll talk about next video.
Yeah, maybe. And then lastly, Fury is a fate icon, and when you attack, you may spend any amount of inspiration to add an equal number of hits. And those are Gimli cards.
Yeah, so these are real hit or miss, I find.
Yep.
Restless Axe, not only is this his success card, but it is a bonkers ability, right? To be able to discard this at the start of your turn to take an additional attack. It's not only just add 2 hits to an attack, but it is take an extra attack.
Yeah, third action.
yeah, it has to be your first action, so that means an enemy has to be in your space, basically. But sure. That happens a lot because they spend the shadow phase moving into your space.
Into you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, I mean, like, Kinship is okay. It's a nice little aid card.
Yeah. It always drives me nuts that the dwarf rider, because no one else is ever a dwarf.
Sure. Well, maybe in the future we'll play a campaign with some expansions.
Yeah. Someday.
I find Fury really bad, I have to say.
Yeah. Inspiration. Gimli doesn't have a lot of it. That
Mhm.
I didn't read this on his card, but every character has a maximum for how much inspiration they can hold, and Gimli's is 3. So it's not like he's dumping 5 into this card in order to do 5 extra damage and take out a boss. Like that's just not possible. So this card is pretty limited right there. Even and then on top of that, just you have better things to do with your fate than trade them in for 1 damage, right?
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
your inspiration rather.
Yeah, like 1 hit is nothing. Like if it was an additional success above, your limit or whatever, and you could get your axe to do 11 damage, then maybe. 1
Maybe.
damage does not seem worthwhile.
No, yeah, and the main time that I've found, we'll get to Legolas next, actually, based on the order the cards are on my table. If you have Cleave, which is something that he can do, that Legolas can do, and it takes all your damage and deals it to all the enemies in a group, like 1 more hit, that might make the difference between taking all the enemies in a group out and none of them out, and that could be huge. But I don't think Gimli cleaves very often. Maybe as we get through the rolls,
I don't know. Yeah.
Maybe as we get through the rolls that we'll see some options that you could take. But I've played some Gimli and I've never cleaved.
Okay.
I don't think.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, and then Poet's Heart. Before you interact with a person token, gain 1 inspiration. Gimli is not the talker.
Mm-hmm. He's a lover, but mostly a fighter.
Yeah. His wisdom and wit, which I think are mostly what you use to talk to people, are very low. And I think I actually misquoted it when I was talking about the ring mail before. I think that only works when you're nullifying damage, right?
Like that seems really good.
It doesn't just convert his stats all the time. Yeah, so I kind of overhyped that, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's not good at talking to people. Yeah, I think I prep Poet's Heart a lot because it's a failure, and I like to get those out of my deck.
Yes. Yeah, there's no icon, so...
Right, like you between this and a weakness, I will prep this because it gets a failure out of your deck and kind of has an ability.
Sometimes, like once per game.
Yeah, and in a clutch you can rest with it, if you're
sure
if you're on the brink.
Yeah, although I find he's not often due to his class. If you take his Guardian class,
that's true. Yeah. So speaking of which,
segue.
Yeah, it's recommended that he be the Guardian. And so most of my playing of this game has actually been at like 4 or 5 players. And so there's not a lot of room to like multi-class and stuff if you're playing with just the core set, because there are just not enough. There's not enough roles for everyone to switch all the time. So I've mostly played these as their recommended roles. Have you branched out much ever?
I have, because the very first time I played this game, it was a 5-player and we made it through 1 scenario and never got back together.
Yeah.
And then I played it 2 and 3 mostly, and I find it really great at 2 and 3 because
I think it's a better game at 2 or 3.
Yeah,
I'd call 3 probably like the sweet spot.
Yeah, because everyone has enough turns to kind of make it go, but otherwise, like, you get 10 threat minimum around if you have 5 people.
Yeah, there's at least 1 scenario in the core campaign that is on a battle map and it's like 30 threat. So in a 5-player game, it's like 2 rounds, maybe 3. Yeah. Actually, as I recall, on I have man, this is a tangent. I have maybe some balance concerns about 5 players too, because in that quest we ended up beating it in 1 round.
Oh wow!
It was like a boss fight, and we just killed the boss, and it wasn't like a multi-phase boss or a boss where when they run away and then their army swarms in or nothing like that. We just killed the boss. It was not a hard.
It was not super climactic. It sounds.
No, not at all. So anyway, most of the time, in theory, Gimli is a guardian. So he starts always with "You cannot pass in play," which says you can use guard for nearby heroes in addition to heroes in your space and as guard 3. And then he's got 2 copies of Ready Defense, which has a success. It says when you test to negate damage or fear, add a success. And it's guard 2. These cards are all super good.
Oh my god, yeah.
The starting guardian cards are, I don't know that I've ever like gone roll by roll and compared. Maybe we're gonna, as we go through these, find that the starting cards are just always great. But I think these are the best Gimli cards we've looked at so far.
Yes, 100% agree.
The one trade-off to ready defense is it has a success on it. So when you leave it in play, but yeah, whenever you're testing to prevent, like,
That's unreal how good that is.
one copy of this and it prevents one of every attack against you, and then you test to prevent more. Yeah, it's bonkers.
Yeah, he doesn't take damage very often, is how I've learned.
Yeah, Gimli's basically invincible.
Like I had a guardian Gimli who had these like 2 of these prepped, and he just did it. Like he almost didn't have to test, because like seldom, unless it's an like elite enemy attacking you, you need to really take more than 2, maybe 3 at the very worst.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had 2 of these prepped because they're 2 successes, and I've been a little bit afraid to have 2 of them out of my deck, especially because a lot of the time, something's doing a total of 3 damage and horror to you. You nullify one and you test for the others and you cancel them anyway. Like the second one is not actually nearly as good as the first.
Sure.
Because a lot of the time it's just unnecessary. So yeah, I don't know that I would consider that to have been good play on your friend's part.
An optimal play, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. And we only make correct decisions.
From playing
on optimal play.
You only make correct decisions.
Yeah. So I think the correct decision is to prep exactly 1 ready defense. But it's
fair.
It's still good that you have 2 copies. You're more likely to hit it that way, right?
Yeah.
If there's any weakness to this card, it's that it doesn't start in play, and sometimes you don't find it when you rally.
True. It's sometimes not always in play. That is a weakness of this card.
It's the only downside I see. Okay, so I think we'll kind of march through each role in kind of groups by like experience tier. So you want to give us the 3 cost cards?
All right, so we have Word of Glory. When you or a nearby hero tests Spirit, you may discard this card to add 1 success and scout 1. It also has the keyword guard 1. Noble Sacrifice. If a nearby hero would suffer damage or horror. Oh, horror. No, listen to me. Damage or fear.
Wrong game, yeah.
It is a blue damage stat. Yeah.
Despite them being synonyms, and this being heavily based on Mansions of Madness.
Yeah, so if a nearby hero would suffer damage or fear, you may discard this skill to, it is called a skill, suffer that damage or fear instead. If you do, that hero gains 1 inspiration and you may scout 1. Also, we have Desperate Defense. Before you or another hero in your space performs a last stand, you may discard the skill to add 1 success to the test. Interesting. Guard 1 and rest 2.
Oh man, I don't put 3s in my deck all that much, other than maybe after 1 question, because they are failures.
Sure.
They have no fate or success icon. Desperate Defense strikes me as pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. When the game is going well, sometimes you just have 0 last stand tests in a quest.
Mm-hmm.
But when you usually have 1 or 2, and 1 success is all you need to pass them.
Yeah. The first time, all you need is 1. So, I mean, yeah, this is a great card to put in your deck and then allow it to sit in your area forever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, paraphrasing its text, it says, you and heroes in your space are immune to losing the game, right?
I think that's exactly
it seems pretty good. One good way to win at games is to not lose them, which is what this card does.
Yeah, it's helpful. Yeah, I feel like we'll say this for all the level 3, so let's just get it out of the way. They have no icons on them, so they're usually a hard sell because of that fact. Yeah.
There are times when I've like had 27-ish experience and wanted to buy 2 12s and then just passed on adding a 3 to my deck. Yeah. No, thank you on that failure. So yeah, these other ones, like they're good. They kind of play into your. Well, okay. Noble Sacrifice plays into kind of the guardian tanky. Like you
Sure.
don't take damage from your own defense, so might as well take some damage for your allies. Like that seems good. Why is Word of Glory a thing? Why are you helping with nearby heroes with that icon is spirit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that. It doesn't really fit the theme of any of these other cards to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think we see something like this in every class where it's just like, here's a stat that you can help someone with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Level 3.
In this case, it's not even a
Yeah, I
I
feel
don't
like
want to say that spirit is a bad stat, but I feel like it's pretty much like the least commonly tested stat.
I won't die on that hill because I feel like all stats are fine, but yeah, spirit.
In the early days of Arkham Horror, the card game, agility was the stat that was like, why would you play a card just to increase your agility? You never test that. That's kind of spirit right now, you know. Maybe,
yeah.
maybe the expansion.
Our words.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to the better stuff. The tier 7 cards. So I think all the rolls are the same. There's 3 3s, 4 7s, and 2 12s.
I think that's right, but
I'm not actually sure if that's true across the board, but there are 4 of these. So they are, ooh, this is a good name. Voice like ringing steel. As I'm flipping through, I was about to say they all have fate icons on them, but that's not true. This one has a fate icon and says, when a nearby hero activates, you may discard this skill to be the target and scout 1. You cannot suffer fear during this activation. Okay, and then next we have another copy of Ready Defense. You already have 2 of these. If you are still a Guardian, right? You already have 2 of these. You can switch and have the starting cards for a different role, and then spend your Guardian XP to get one of these. We've got Guarded Strike, which has a fate icon, is a tactic, and says your other skills with Guard have Strike 1. Before you strike, gain 1 inspiration. Guard 2, Strike 1. One of the busier cards I've seen. And then Grim Resolve, a fate icon, and when you or a hero in your space performs a last stand, you may discard this skill to add 1 to the test. Did the previous one? Oh, you did have to discard that one too. Okay. So, and then it is, I should finish reading the card. It is Guard 2 and Rest 2. Any favorites here? Ready Defense.
I think that's a no-brainer. It's one of the only, if not the only, level 7 that has a success, and I think that is just bonkers.
Yeah. Spending 7 XP to add a success to your deck. Yeah, probably the most powerful option, choice you can make.
And it's a great card. Not only it could be. I would probably take a level 7 blank card that had a success on it. I would consider that.
Yeah, I'm almost surprised that doesn't exist. It feels like it would be fine. Maybe a level 3 card that is just a success.
Oh, all day I take that.
Oh yeah, no, that would maybe be too good. All right, I wonder if we'll get different costed experience cards in expansions someday.
That would be.
I wonder if it'll always be 3, 7, 12.
Voicelet like ringing steel was a theater review I just got actually. That's not
oh, really?
I don't know if that's good or bad, so I'm not going to say it.
Yeah, the review of the latest musical that you starred in was that the lead had a voice like ringing steel. I don't know how you should take that.
Thank you. Maybe.
Ringing steel. I don't think I would pay to listen to Ringing Steel.
So yeah, insult. Understood. I know who to write a angry letter to now.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Other than the name and the art's kind of cool. Yeah, it's a fine card.
Yeah, I think we see kind of 2 directions that you can go with these, with kind of a build here. Voice like Ringing Steel plays into that really tanky. You would almost take some of these Guardian cards that let you take attacks for other people, and you'd also take either make sure to stick close to a supportive person with lots of healing, or multi-class into some healing. So you can, I guess we are seeing some rest on these cards that can also be healing. But that's one way you can go. And then another way that these kind of lead you towards is like Guarded Strike. We've seen lots of cards with guard on them, and your skills. So giving cards with guard strike 1 does not actually mean like when you guard you're doing anything extra, right? It's just making those cards more versatile.
Yeah.
I guess go ahead.
I was going to say, I feel like the guarded strike card, even though it is giving cards strike 1, it also is just like, hey, here's a little inspiration engine because it never discards guarded strike. You could discard other cards with guard or strike on them and then just be like raking in some inspiration.
True. Yeah. And again, Gimli doesn't need too big an inspiration engine because he can't hoard it. But that's actually a really good point, to be able to, like, once your board is full of 4, just make sure you're always discarding 1 to strike, and then you're attacking every round, so that's easy. And get that inspiration. I don't think I've taken this card before, because I think I've always zeroed in on that first one, and I'm like, I'm not going to discard my guard cards for strike 1. But before you strike, gain 1 inspiration, that's okay. Maybe I need to give this a chance.
Yeah, I like cards that sit in play and do passive abilities. Those are always good.
Yeah, they are. There's not a whole lot of them, but they are great. And Grim Resolve is like literally the same text, right? As Desperate Defense
for a Fate icon, and maybe a +1 to rest or guard or one.
It has +1 to the guard. Okay. There is a slight difference here. Desperate Defense works before the test. Grim Resolve says when you are performing a test. So Desperate Defense, you have to pitch in before you see what the result would be. And Grim Resolve, you can wait and see whether they need it. I don't feel like Last Stands happens so often that I would be reluctant to like pitch in.
Here, take it.
Yeah, right. Like, great.
So
a new space, so I can prep something else. Yeah.
So, so I feel like that's a no for me.
Yeah. I have found that this game is generally not that difficult, so I'm actually really interested to start playing it more on hard difficulty.
Yeah,
and maybe that would change the way I evaluate like these Last Stand cards, but they're fine. Yeah. All right, let's get to the good stuff. Give us the 12s.
All right, here are the 2 12s. We have Final Defense, which has a success. Oh, lovely. When you or a nearby hero performs a Last Stand, you may discard this skill to add 1 success to the test and scout 2, guard 3, and rest 2. And we also have Defense Instruction, also a success. When a hero tests to negate fear or damage, they may spend 1 inspiration to convert 1 fate icon to 2 successes.
Okay. I'm looking through the cards here to find Desperate Defense. So there's like a 3rd level of this Last Stand ability.
Yeah.
Which the difference here is that there's 2 differences. It works on nearby heroes, which actually makes this significantly better, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just heroes in your space. And then it lets you scout too, which is like that's fine.
Yep.
Why? So the first one is called Desperate Defense, and the last one is called Final Defense. The fact that the middle one isn't something defense is really irritating me right now.
What's the middle one called?
Grim Resolve.
Yeah. Oh God, it doesn't even fit theme.
No. Desperate Defense, Grim Resolve, Final Defense does not satisfy the part of my brain that wants to find a pattern here. Not cool.
All right. It's a junk card, obviously.
Never buy this. It is not aesthetically pleasing.
You will be disappointed with this upgrade path.
Yeah. I think defense instruction though is bonkers.
Yeah.
Right.
Holy crap, turning 1 fate into 2 successes.
And is it a typo that this doesn't have to be a nearby hero? It upgrades your entire team.
Tests.
Yeah.
Unreal.
I mean, it is a success icon, so there's always that trade-off, which actually is one of my favorite things about the game is that constant question of, do I want to take the success out of my deck to get the text of the card in play? I think that's super clever. Like that still applies here, but generally the upside is worth it.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, you save your whole team. I mean, you just negate damage for your whole team with this. Like you.
Yeah. As long as it goes better if, I mean, you can have teams that kind of have more or less inspiration to go around, right? Like it is Elena. I always get Elena and Barivore confused. I think they're both made up characters, right? Okay, they're all made up characters. I mean, made up by Fantasy Flight Games.
Maybe. I don't know. I did play a lot of Lord of the Rings, the card game, and Barabor was a big player, but I don't know if that was a made up card, and it could have been.
Yeah,
or maybe it's like deep in the archives of like the Silmarillion or.
That's possible. I'm pretty sure a lot of the female heroes, female like characters in the Fantasy Flight Lord of the Rings games are made up because there is not this close to even a gender balance in the Lord of the Rings books of characters.
I would buy that.
The entire Fellowship is men, I think. So, all right. Anyway, that's bonkers. Guardian is overpowered.
Yeah. I do like the thematic idea of like, so like it makes sense that the heroes don't need to be nearby because you've taught them to defense. It's defense training. But then at the same time, when it's not prepared, they just forget how to defend.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the flavor of that is. Yeah. that as soon as you prepare defense instruction, all of a sudden Legolas on the other side of those hills, like,
they're like, oh, I remember now.
All right, yeah, you can't think about this game too hard, which is funny because it is a very thematic kind of storytelling adventure game, but yeah, it falls apart at times. It's fine.
That's okay.
I know you read the last things, but you did not read the last characters. You want to introduce us to Legolas?
I would love to. So I'll also just point out that Legolas's best stat is agility. He is an elf. He has 5 inspiration in his pool. Once per round during your turn, you may spend 1 inspiration to move 1 space without provoking attacks.
Yeah, this is all right.
I've played Legolas and I find it just unreal.
Really?
Yes.
I think that when Legolas's are spending inspiration on this, it's like, great, I can scoot out of the way, do an attack. Oh, wait, I have no inspiration to land any hits on this attack.
Interesting. Maybe it was just the people I was playing with. Maybe I had like an Elena or something on my team. But I found that 1 inspiration for a sprint 1, because that's essentially what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like also with the pretext of, no provoking attacks.
Does sprint normally provoke attacks?
It does. There's nothing saying that it doesn't.
Yeah. Okay, that's right. Brutal.
Yeah. So I find that really good. I mean, just that, even if you just use it for a sprint and just like sprint in and explore the next tile and get that
that's true.
Right back.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't actually think that I've played Legolas myself. I've played alongside him, and I feel like he always just runs himself broke. But
it can definitely happen, especially on non-journey maps. Absolutely.
Right. And the thing, it's surprisingly hard to come back from like hitting 0 inspiration in this game, because then you like fail your searches, which would have given you inspiration if you succeeded. And it's hard. The game rarely just gives you inspiration. It gives you inspiration when you defeat enemies, or I guess you get it for exploring, but you get it when you defeat enemies, or a lot of the time when you search or resolve threat tokens and that kind of thing. And yeah, once you hit 0, you start failing to do any of those things and you run out. And I feel like there's a little bit of a trap there for Legolas.
It is, yeah. I wouldn't recommend using his last inspiration on this ability. Yeah. Well, maybe that's why so many Legolases have got themselves killed in my games. I don't stop them from using that last one. And then they use their last one. They don't have it for a last stand test. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Hey, Legolas has some cards. They didn't just give him to Gimli. So he's got Keen Eyes. It has a fade icon, and okay, actually, we're starting with the showstopper here. Your ranged attacks can target enemies 1 additional space away, and it has strike 2. He has 2 copies of Light-Footed. When you interact with a search or threat token before you test, you may discard this skill to test agility instead, and Scout 1. And it has Sprint 1. Again, 2 copies there. Tireless, which has no success icons. At this end of your turn, you may discard this skill to perform an action that you have not performed this turn. And Immortality. No test icons, and it has rest 2, strike 2. Okay, Kenai, go. Why is this card the best card in the entire box?
Because you can hit anything on the map.
Yeah.
Giving yourself a 2 range radius around yourself is stupid.
Even on the journey maps, if you stand in the middle, you can hit almost the entire map.
It's wild. It is a great card, and it's again one that sits in play and passively gives you this great ability. And if you need to if you really need to kill something, you always have this thing prepared, and you're like, oh, I'll just strike 2 and I'll kill this thing.
Right. Yeah. And I would not recommend doing that unless you absolutely have to, just because the extra range is so important. And it's a couple things. It's you can much more often take both of your actions attacking because you don't have to move to get in range of something. It means at 2 range, that means slow enemies that try to move 1 space and attack, like the troll and stuff. You can actually kite them, which is maybe I should. Kiting is a video game term for running away from an enemy as you shoot it, and it just dies without ever catching up to you. You can do that if you have 2 range. It's just so good. Yeah. I think that this. You think more highly of Legolas's ability on his own character than I do. I think this is Legolas's ability.
Well, I think they actually work really great together because usually, as we were talking about kiting an enemy, usually if they aren't in range to attack, they'll move double speed and usually catch up to you. And this is where you take the little not provoking bump away and then shoot them again and maybe run away and continue to kite them. Yeah, it's just a great card.
It's bonkers. Yep. All right. So light-footed, I feel much less positive on. I think I mostly want to leave this in my deck for its success icon.
And that's why I really like it. You feel super inclined to prepare it, and
you just like the success icon with no temptation to put it into play.
I love it. But I mean, in all actuality, if you are preparing this, I do like cards that replace themselves, and this is one of those.
That's true. Anytime it says "and scout 1" at the end of its discardability, that's pretty strong. Yeah. I think that if you prepare this, you're more often discarding it to sprint 1, which doesn't replace itself then. Because Legolas, at least, and again, I'm biased towards higher player counts in most of my playtime in this game, but Legolas is usually just a killing machine. He's not the one you're sending in to search to deal with the search and threat tokens. You're sending Bilbo and Elena to do that, while Legolas just shoots 5 enemies per turn with cleave and cleave and 2 range, and So this card is great because it has a success icon on it. Moving on. Tireless is fine. You prep it because it has a fail icon on it, or because there's no fail icon. I feel like both Immortality and Tireless you prep because you want them out of your deck, and then maybe they'll come in handy.
Yeah, I find Tireless pretty good, actually. I feel like you can, because you don't have to do all 3 actions. You don't need to interact, move, and fight. You could just be like, oh, I'm going to fight twice, and then use Tireless to move away from this enemy.
Oh, good point. I had actually always kind of looked at this and thought of it as, okay, you need to manipulate a turn where you're doing all 3 things. Yeah, but so if you do one thing twice, that's a great point.
It is really nice. I think Tireless is one of the stronger cards in his little set here.
All right.
I always used it whenever I could.
Yeah, you've kind of sold me on it. Which I didn't expect to allow you to convince me of anything.
Yeah, well, playing the character is a good teacher.
All right, so it's recommended that Legolas be a hunter. Want to give us the starting hunter cards?
I shall. Hunter, resourceful. After you prepare the skill, gain 1 inspiration. At the end of your turn, you may discard the skill to gain 1 inspiration or scout 1. He also has 2 copies of Precise Strike, which are success icons, and Strike 3. Plain and simple.
Yeah. Okay. So Precise Strike, again, it's kind of a success card. You're probably not going to prep all that often.
It doesn't have a great text.
Yeah. I mean, strike 3 is a high strike value, and if you're against a boss or something with like a lot of armor, strike 3 can be really valuable because because that's all going to be health damage at that point. But yeah, most of the time you'd rather leave that on top of your deck.
It's super
resourceful. How do you feel about resourceful?
It's a great card.
Yeah.
And for Legolas especially, or anyone who struggles with experience, I keep on saying that, with inspiration, it's really just a great inspiration generator. Yeah,
you are always happy to prepare this because it gets it out of your deck, gives you an inspiration, which is super strong. I think maybe the best thing on this card is the little sparkles on the text box. That means it starts in play because Legolas starts with an inspiration.
Yep.
Like
sparkles. I'd never noticed those. Oh my god.
Oh yeah. The rules just say card number 1 starts in play, which is, by the way, something that I was doing wrong for my first dozen plays of this game. I caught that rule when I was looking something else up well into my Lord of the Rings Journeys into Middle-earth career, and I was like, holy crap,
that changes everything.
It does. And that was part of when I started feeling like the game was kind of easy.
Yeah.
It really turned the tides on the difficulty of the game for me. But anyway, yeah, Legolas starts with an inspiration, which not every scenario gives you one to start with. And again, because it's so hard to get from 0 to 1 inspiration sometimes, it's so good.
Yes.
All right. The first 3-cost experience card is also resourceful. So we've seen that you can buy more than one. I probably recommend you do. This is probably one of the better.
Which is sad.
What's that?
I said it doesn't have the sparkles, which is sad.
No. Oh yeah, man. If this one also started in play, holy crap. Coordinated Strike has no success icons on it, and before you strike with this skill, if there is another hero in your target space, add a modifier of your choice to the attack. And it has strike 1, and then Quick Snare says before you strike with this skill, add stun to the attack. So those two are similar to one another, but Coordinated Strike seems better almost all of the time.
Yeah, I mean, again, in high player counts, definitely. In 2 players, not as much.
That's true, because there has to be... Yeah, so Coordinated Strike does nothing other than strike 1 if there is not a nearby hero.
Exactly.
And then it's a little weird. The card doesn't care about any of the facts about that person, right? It's not like it looks at their stats or heals them or anything. It's just just got to be a tan colored figure near your figure and you're good to go. Then you can make it lethal or cleave or whatever.
Before they go out on the mission, Legolas is like, hey, if I ever wink at you, just wave your hands a lot. That's what he tells everyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, being able to turn something lethal at experience 3 is pretty good.
That or cleave, because I think it's in Strike that we're going to see a cleave card coming, but to get it at 3 XP, pretty nice.
Very true.
All right, you want to give us the 7s?
I shall. My cat might join us in this video. Deathstroke is a fate icon, and before you strike with this skill, add lethal to the attack. Strike 2. We also have Barrage. Before you strike with this skill, add cleave to the attack. Strike 1. Also a fate icon. Falcon Companion, fate icon, creature traded, which is funny. During your turn, you may discard the skill to apply 3 hits and pierce to a nearby enemy. Sprint 1. And gather supplies. After you prepare this skill, gain 1 inspiration. When you rest with this skill, you may scout 3, and there's also rest 2 on that skill.
Yeah, so it's 2 more cards that are really similar to some of the ones we saw before, right? This is a real trend, is strike plus a keyword.
Sure.
I don't think I have anything else to say about them.
Moving right by.
Falcon Companion is amazing.
Garbage?
Whoa.
Yeah. I did buy this when I played Legolas, and I did not like it very much.
Really?
Yeah.
So I have found that an actionless 3 damage with Pierce is pretty damn strong, no?
So again, as we talked about, he likes to cleave with a bow at a certain level. And I found that it's not too much after this level that you get that cleaving bow, and then anything that does like 3 damage to something maybe does, piercing or something like that. It's just not that good. I mean, I could be convinced otherwise, but I just did not. I didn't love it.
And that's right. I was like flipping through the cards, wondering like, where's the cleave card that I like identify with Legolas so much? But it's actually his upgraded bow, right?
Yeah,
that gains cleave. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so unless you're trying to do like sword Legolas or something, because nothing is forcing you to equip him with a bow, then you're gonna have cleave from about the like a third of the way through the campaign on, I think.
Sure. I really like gather supplies.
Oh man, I'm still baffled by your lack of love for the Falcon, but
did not love the Falcon.
just action, like bonus action type stuff in this game is so rare that it makes those cards so good.
I agree, but I mean, like, compare it to Gimli's card that we saw that was the bonus action, where he's getting in a first action or like free action at the beginning of his turn, attack and adding 2 hits. I mean, that can do like 7 damage pretty easily.
That's true. But what if the enemy had 7 armor? Then the Falcon wins.
As we know, there's lots of enemies that have 7 armor.
All right. Why do you love gather supplies so much?
I mean, similar for the reason of resourceful, right? It's kind of like the upgraded version of resourceful. When after you prepare the skill, you gain inspiration. You can sit in your area for a bit, and then you're like, you know what? I could use a little heal, and then it replaces itself with a really big, a big dig with 3 scouting. Which I think is
yeah, it's a pretty great package. Gain inspiration when it enters play. It heals you for 2 because you rested and you scout 3. And meanwhile, and when it is in your deck, it has a fade icon, which is a lot better than the nothing on resourceful.
Sure.
Pretty great card. And really, I'm wondering if the Legolases I played with just didn't buy these, because when I feel like Legolas is inspiration starved because of his abilities so often. Like the Hunter class has so many of these cards.
That's why I was like, are you sure that your friends in the game?
Oh man. All right. Yeah, some suboptimal plays made.
Too bad.
All right. And then the level 12 cards, the 12 experience cards, on the hunt, which has a success and says once per turn before you or a nearby hero attacks, that hero gains 1 inspiration. And stalk prey has a success and says when you attack, if there are no nearby heroes, add 2 hits. And it has hide. For some reason.
Well, you're hiding in the trees.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it goes with the flavor of the card, but I can't imagine discarding this for its hide effect.
No, probably not.
I guess if there are too many nearby heroes and you're just never going to be getting these bonus hits, like time to hide.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and doesn't hiding give you 2 hits?
It gives you actually an additional success.
Oh yeah, okay. So likely or potentially better than 2 hits.
Potentially. But again, both of these cards are passive abilities, and they're both really good passive abilities.
Yep. Take the success out of your deck, but particularly on the hunt.
Oh, it's so good. It's like unfair how good it is.
Yeah. An inspiration on every attack, or once per turn an attack.
Once per turn.
And then also nearby heroes. And it's once per turn, not once per round. So on each other player's turn, they can have an inspiration when they attack.
Yep. Really good. And then like you'll probably kill something because you had an inspiration, and then you'll probably get another inspiration. So again,
because attacking itself, right?
So you should be able to use his ability. Full circle.
All right. I'm just starting to think all the Legolas players I played with were bad at this game.
Clearly.
It can't be that I'm bad at the game.
No, never.
Oh, that was hilarious.
Wasn't that great, Kyle? You know, that thing that you said about Legolas's level 7 cards, blew my mind.
Sometimes things come to me and I remember them to this day. I know exactly what we said, and it was great.
It was. So I hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. As we said up front, we only covered 2 heroes here. We'll be back next week. We'll have another video out with the next couple heroes. So see you then. Until then, be optimal.